The great misdirection your 20s are not what you think they are. That perfectly filtered timeline you see on social media, with new jobs, new apartments, and smiling vacations, is not reality. It is the highlight reel of a world that learned to perform. Somewhere along the way, the algorithm replaced the compass. You start measuring your life not by how alive you feel, but by how together you look. Here is the truth. Nobody has it all figured out. Behind every aesthetic coffee photo is someone quietly worrying about rent, purpose, or whether they are wasting their potential. Society sold us a script. Graduate by 22, career by 23, relationship by 25, house by 28, kids by 30. As if human growth follows a project plan. But behind those Instagram milestones, most people are experimenting, failing, restarting, and pretending they are fine while they are still figuring it out. That is not a glitch in the system. That is the system. The real difference between those who thrive and those who barely survive in their 20s is not a perfect plan. It is the courage to embrace the chaos. I have asked dozens of people in their 30s and 40s what they wish they had known at 25. Not one said, "I wish I had my life more figured out." Every single one said, "I wish I had worried less. I wish I had experimented more. I wish I had understood that the winding path is the path." So think of your 20s, not as a race, but as a studio. You are not behind schedule. You are in production. This is not the final performance. It is the rehearsal, where mistakes are both expected and valuable. This is not going according to plan, is not failure. It is literally the plan. While we are all scrolling through perfectly curated lives, wondering why ours feels unscripted, remember this. Every 20-something you admire is also quietly searching how to be an adult at 2 in the morning. You are not the only one improvising. You are just the only one being honest about it. Start here. Unlearn the myth that you should have it all figured out. Because the greatest freedom of your 20s is realizing that nobody does. Welcome to the studio. Chapter 1. The Identity Laboratory. Your 20s are the greatest laboratory you will ever have. No other decade gives you this much freedom to experiment with who you are and who you might become. And contrary to what you were told, self-discovery is not a single lightning moment. It is a series of quiet experiments. You are not supposed to know exactly who you are yet. You are supposed to find out through trial and error. Think of it like running experiments on your own identity. Every few months, you can try a different version of yourself. Maybe 6 months as the person who wakes up early, writes every morning, and actually finishes projects. Then 6 months as the explorer who moves to a new city or joins a team far outside your comfort zone. Each version gives you data. Each experiment reveals a new facet of who you could be. The goal is not to find your one true self, but to meet the many selves that could exist within you. Every experience, every relationship, every environment exposes a different part of your design. The more versions you test, the clearer the pattern becomes. Instead of asking the paralyzing question, "What should I do with my life?" it asks the lighter one, "What can I try next?" Maybe it is a ceramics class that reconnects you to creativity you forgot you had. Maybe it is traveling solo where nobody knows your name and you can rewrite your story for a while. Maybe it is taking a job that challenges everything you thought mattered. Each of these is data. Not the final answer, but clues. The person who tries 10 paths will always know themselves. Better than the person who stayed on one path out of fear or habit. We all know someone who has been in the same job since college and secretly wonders what else might have been possible. Do not let that become your story. The most interesting people are rarely the ones who had it all planned. They are the ones who kept experimenting even when the world told them to settle. So here is a simple challenge. Every 6 months, change one small part of how you define yourself. If you change that one thing this year, what would it be? Your 20s are not a search for a fixed identity. They are a playground for building prototypes of yourself. Each version is imperfect, temporary, and essential. Because self-knowledge is not discovered. It is built, one experiment at a time. Chapter 2. Relationship Economics. Not all relationships deserve equal investment. Your 20s are when you learn the hard but liberating truth that quality always outweighs quantity. In your teens, friendships are built through proximity. Same class, same neighborhood, same late-night group chats. But as you step into your 20s, the map changes. Connections are no longer automatic. You begin to see the difference between convenience connections and soul connections. Between the people who light you up and the ones who quietly drain you. This decade teaches you that maintaining good relationships is not luck. It is strategy. It is energy allocation. Like any valuable investment, relationships compound over time, but only when you are investing in the right ones. Think of your relationships as a portfolio. Some are high maintenance with low returns. Others are simple, but yield massive dividends of joy, support, and growth. The question is not, how can I keep everyone? But who deserves my long-term investment? Your energy is your currency. Spend it on people who expand you, not those who minimize you. Invest in the friend who makes you feel lighter after every conversation. Divest from the group that leaves you questioning your worth. If your life were a startup, your relationships would be your shareholders. Keep the ones who invest in your real growth, not just your highlight reel. And while you are curating your circle, remember that the digital world quietly curates it for you too. The algorithm decides whose lives you see every day, whose opinions echo in your head, whose validation you start to chase. When was the last time you consciously chose your own feed? Digital detox is not about deleting every app. It is about reclaiming the steering wheel of your attention. The people and content you follow shape your sense of what is normal. Choose carefully. What actually matters in your 20s is not the size of your social circle, but the depth of your support system. The courage to outgrow certain connections creates space for the ones that will carry you through the storms ahead. Strong relationships are not accessories to a good life. They are the infrastructure of one. We have all stayed in friendships or relationships past their expiration date, hoping something might change. The quiet relief that comes when you finally let go is proof that growth often begins with release. Studies have shown that meaningful relationships predict happiness and longevity better than money or status ever could. So, maybe it is time to apply the same logic you use for everything else. We spend hours deciding whether to keep a $30 shirt we never wear, but hesitate to evaluate a friendship that constantly hurts us. Marie Kondo would be shocked at how messy our relationship closets have become. Your 20s are for learning that love and loyalty are not the same thing. Keep the people who bring peace, not noise. Choose the shareholders of your life wisely. Chapter 3. Financial Foundations. Your bank account in your 20s might look small, but the decisions you make with it are enormous in impact. The habits you build now will either become your greatest ally or your most exhausting enemy for decades to come. Most of us were never taught how money actually works. We learned formulas, not freedom. Yet, financial literacy quietly shapes almost every part of adult life. Your 20s are the perfect time to build that foundation. Not because you have a lot of money, but because you have time. And time is the most powerful force in finance. The magic of compound interest is not magic at all. It is the quiet reward for consistency. Small actions, repeated long enough, become extraordinary results. It is not about getting rich quickly or impressing anyone. It is about creating future freedom and real options for yourself. Money is not just a number. It is the energy of choice. Every dollar you hold is a seed that can grow into possibility or vanish into impulse. Let's put it simply. If you invest $200 a month starting at 25, by 65, you will have around $650,000 with an 8% return. If you wait until 35 to start, you will have less than half of that. The same amount of money, 10 years later, creates a gap of more than $350,000. That decade difference is not about numbers. It is about freedom bought in advance. The goal is not deprivation. It is direction. Spend on what truly adds value to your life and cut what only feeds short bursts of satisfaction. Every time you buy something, you are not just spending money. You are voting for the kind of life you want to live. Simple systems beat willpower. Set up automatic transfers to savings or investments before you even see the money. Let systems protect you from the version of yourself that loves impulse decisions at midnight. In your 20s, learn the difference between assets that grow in value and liabilities that quietly drain it. The way you manage money now is not about greed. It is about self-respect. Financial freedom is not the absence of limits. It is the ability to make choices based on what fulfills you, not what merely pays the bills. The greatest investment is not in stocks or crypto. It is in your financial education. Understanding how money flows is understanding how your life will flow. We have all made that late-night purchase that felt essential but was forgotten by the weekend. Meanwhile, your future self was silently hoping you had invested that same amount instead. The gap between those who understand compound interest and those who ignore it grows wider every year, until one group has options and the other has excuses. Money does not buy happiness, but it does buy time. And time, spent intentionally, becomes meaning. Financial peace does not come from luck. It comes from systems that make good choices automatic. We will watch a 2-hour video to save $5 on a gadget, yet rarely spend 20 minutes learning how our own accounts or retirement funds work. That knowledge is not optional. It is freedom in disguise. Your 20s are not about chasing wealth. They are about learning to direct energy. Because money at its core is not paper. It is power shaped by intention. Chapter 4. The Health Investment. Your body in your 20s is like a reliable car that keeps running even when you forget to change the oil. But do not be fooled. You are not invincible. You are simply running on factory settings that will not last forever. Youth gives the illusion that health is automatic. It is not. What you do in your 20s quietly sets the baseline you will return to for decades. Every habit, good or bad, is a line of code written into your system. Physical and mental health are not separate projects. They are the same ecosystem. Sleep, movement, nutrition, and rest are not luxuries. They are the operating costs of being alive. The consequences of neglect might not show up today, but they are always compounding in the background. The goal is not perfection or obsession. It is intentional maintenance of your most valuable asset. Your future self is already thanking you for what you do today, or wishing you had started sooner. Regular movement, proper rest, and mindful eating are not about appearance. They are about energy. Energy to think clearly. Energy to stay kind. Energy to keep showing up for the life you want. Mental health deserves equal priority. Learning to recognize emotions, to set boundaries, and to ask for help are not weaknesses. They are maintenance rituals for your mind. A 5-minute meditation each day can change how your brain reacts to stress for the rest of your life. But there is one layer of health that few people talk about. Spiritual hygiene. Not religion, but the quiet work of keeping your inner space clean. It is the way you process meaning, heal invisible fatigue, and stay connected to something larger than your own deadlines. Think of it this way. Your body is the battery. Your mind is the operating system. Your spirit is the firmware running underneath it all. If one part glitches, the whole system slows down. A minor bug in your thoughts can crash the entire machine. The most resilient people are not the ones who push harder. They are the ones who know how to reboot. Sometimes that reboot is a walk without your phone. Sometimes it is a conversation that clears the static in your head. Sometimes it is silence. What matters is not achieving the perfect body or a life free of stress. It is building a foundation of health literacy and daily recovery habits that can carry you through every season of life. The relationship you form with your body and mind in your 20s will be one of the longest relationships you ever have. Treat it with respect. Feed it, rest it, challenge it, and listen when it whispers before it has to scream. Cultures with the longest lifespans do not obsess over health. They integrate it. Movement is part of life. Food is shared, not tracked. Connection is medicine. Your metabolism, your posture, your focus, your patience, they are all quietly taking notes on how you live now. So listen when your body sends feedback. The first time you cannot stay up all night and still function, that is not decline. It is a gentle reminder that your system deserves maintenance. Health is not a side quest. It is the platform that runs every other pursuit. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Chapter 5. Career Exploration. What do you want to be when you grow up? Sounds innocent, but it hides a dangerous assumption that you must choose one thing, one lane, and stay there forever. But what if your career is not a single highway? What if it is a constellation of experiences, skills, and stories that connect in surprising ways later? The old model was simple. Pick a lane, stay in it for 40 years, retire with a gold watch. That model ended with fax machines. The modern world rewards adaptability. The ability to learn quickly, transfer knowledge across fields, and build bridges between disciplines. Your 20s are the perfect time to explore, to try different paths, develop transferable skills, and discover what kind of work lights you up inside. The biggest mistake is not choosing the wrong job. It is staying too long in the wrong one out of fear or inertia. Every role teaches you something valuable, even if it only teaches you what you do not want to repeat. That sales job that drained you might have given you the gift of communication. That startup chaos might have taught you in 1 year what a corporation teaches in 5. Instead of asking, "Is this my dream job?" ask, "What can I learn here that will serve me anywhere?" Because the modern career is less like climbing a ladder and more like building a portfolio. Welcome to the portfolio life. You do not have to be one thing. You can be a designer and a writer, a marketer and a musician, a teacher who codes, a doctor who paints. You are not scattered. You are building a flexible foundation that can bend with change instead of breaking under it. Don't choose a career in your 20s. Build a flexible career foundation in your 20s. The goal is not to arrive at a single label. It is to discover the intersection between 3 truths: what you are good at, what you enjoy, and what creates value for others. The clarity you build through exploration now saves you from decades of silent wondering later. Your career is not a sprint. It is a long design experiment. We have all sat in interviews pretending we always dreamed of this exact role, when in reality we just need a paycheck and a chance to learn. That is fine. The real growth begins once you are inside the door. On average, people today will have around 12 jobs in their lifetime. Changing directions is not failure. It is adaptation. It is the new normal in a world that evolves faster than any one title can keep up. That Sunday evening dread before work? That is not weakness. That is data. It is your internal compass quietly saying, "This path is not mine." Listen to it. We spend hours researching where to eat dinner, but almost no time researching where we will spend 40 hours a week for years. Your career deserves more curiosity than a restaurant menu. The people who build meaningful work do not find it by luck. They design it through countless small experiments that connect over time into something only they could have built. So treat every job, every project, every collaboration as a data point in your constellation. The pattern will make sense later. For now, keep adding stars. Chapter 6. The Learning Mindset. Your formal education may have ended, but your real education is just beginning. The most valuable skill you can build in your 20s is not a specific expertise. It is the skill of learning itself. In a world that evolves faster than any curriculum can catch up, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is your ultimate advantage. This is the decade when you move from mandatory learning to self-directed learning. Curiosity becomes your new teacher. The shift is subtle but powerful. It is the difference between saying, "I should already know this," and I get to learn something new. That single change turns challenges from threats into opportunities. The goal is not to collect certificates or prove intelligence. It is to build intellectual flexibility, the capacity to adapt when the world changes again and again. Your brain in your 20s is still remarkably plastic. It absorbs, adapts, and rewires with every new experience. Take full advantage of that. Read outside your comfort zone. Take online courses in subjects that simply spark your curiosity. Turn your commute into a classroom through podcasts. These are not hobbies. They are investments in your cognitive infrastructure. Deliberately seek knowledge that challenges your beliefs instead of only confirming them. Ask when you do not understand instead of pretending you do. Surround yourself with people who know things you do not, and learn to listen deeply. The breadth of what you explore now creates connection points for deeper expertise later. This is where the idea of T-shaped learning comes in. Go wide in many fields so you can understand how the world connects, and go deep in one field so you can contribute meaningfully to it. Breadth builds empathy. Depth builds mastery. The combination builds power. And in the digital age, one of the fastest ways to accelerate your growth is to learn in public. Share what you are learning online. Write threads, notes, or short reflections. It is not about showing off. It is about creating a feedback loop between your curiosity and the collective mind of the internet. Teaching others forces you to understand better. The reward is clarity, not clout. Think of knowledge as a neural network outside your own brain. Every time you share, read, or ask, you connect another node. The more you connect, the smarter the network becomes, and you along with it. What matters in your 20s is not how much you already know. It is your capacity to learn whatever becomes necessary next. The humility to say, I don't know, but I can find out, is far more valuable than confidently repeating what no longer works. We have all sat through conversations pretending to understand instead of asking questions. That momentary comfort costs us growth. The people who evolve fastest are not those who know most, but those who keep learning even when they feel foolish. It is ironic that we graduate and think we are done learning just as life begins to test us for real. Adulthood is the ultimate exam where the tests come first and the lessons arrive later, so stay curious. Keep updating your mental software, because in a world that never stops changing, the true skill is staying teachable. Chapter 7. Building Independence. Independence is not just about paying your own bills. It is about developing the confidence to navigate life without needing constant direction or validation. Your 20s mark the slow but powerful shift from depending on others to becoming someone others can depend on, including yourself. This independence has layers. It is financial, emotional, intellectual, and practical. Financial independence starts with understanding what you truly need versus what you simply want. It is about building systems that cover the essentials before chasing the extras. Emotional independence means learning to manage your feelings without always needing approval or reassurance. Practical independence is the quiet competence of cooking a real meal, managing your space, handling logistics, and solving small problems before they grow large. Every time you figure something out on your own, instead of immediately calling for help, you are strengthening this life muscle. Each small victory builds a foundation of self-trust. The ability to recover from setbacks without falling apart becomes your greatest asset with age. But true independence is not isolation. It is not closing your door to the world. It is the freedom to choose connection from strength rather than from need. Independence creates interdependence that is voluntary, not desperate. To understand this more clearly, think of independence as a spectrum with 3 levels of autonomy. Level 1 is survival. You can live without constant rescue. You can meet your own basic needs and stand on your own 2 feet. Level 2 is self-trust. You can make decisions based on your judgment without being paralyzed by the fear of what others think. Level 3 is purpose. You can create impact without needing to be praised for it. You act from conviction, not from applause. Reaching these levels is not a checklist. It is an evolution. You move between them as life challenges you in new ways. Every time you assemble furniture by yourself or navigate a foreign city alone, you are not just doing a task. You are proving to yourself that you can rely on you. That quiet confidence stays with you. In your 20s, you will swing between extremes. Some days you feel ready to run a small country. Other days you Google how to know if chicken is fully cooked for the 15th time. That duality is not failure. It is the process of becoming. True adulthood does not arrive with an age. It arrives in moments when you take ownership. When you stop waiting for permission to act. When you realize that nobody is coming to design your life for you. Independence is not about not needing anyone. It is about not letting anyone else define who you are. Because the day you trust yourself enough to stand alone is the same day you finally have something real to share with the world. Chapter 8. The Courage Curriculum. Most transformative moments of your 20s will not come from comfort. They will come from courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move while fear is still talking. Your 20s are full of chances to build your courage muscle through deliberate discomfort. Every time you step into the unknown, socially, professionally, or personally, you expand the range of what your life can become. The brain's default setting is safety. It wants comfort, predictability, and control. But growth lives just beyond that border. Courage is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. And courage is not only about grand gestures. It is also built in quiet moments of truth. Speaking up when silence feels safer. Trying something new when failure feels likely. Being honest when pretending would be easier. These small acts of bravery compound. They shape a life guided by choice, not avoidance. Start with small courage challenges. Talk to a stranger. Share an idea in a meeting. Try something where you are a complete beginner. Then move toward bigger challenges. Asking for a raise, traveling solo, or applying for a position that feels just beyond your reach. Confidence does not come before action. It is the reward for action. You build courage by doing courageous things, not by waiting until you feel ready. This is where the idea of risk practice comes in. Courage grows like a muscle when you train it. You start with small, controlled doses of risk to build tolerance. Say yes to something uncertain once a week. Volunteer for a project you might not fully understand. Learn to feel fear, label it, and still move forward. Soon, risk stops feeling like danger. It starts feeling like growth. There is a story about a young woman who applied for a job, even though she knew she was missing 30% of the listed skills. She almost closed the tab, but hit send anyway. That single act of courage changed her entire career path. Not because she was the most qualified, but because she was willing to learn out loud. That is the power of one small risk. The regrets people talk about later in life are rarely about the things they tried. They are about the doors they never opened, the conversations they avoided, the ideas they buried under comfort. We all remember the times we stayed quiet when we should have spoken, or played safe when we could have stepped forward. Those silent regrets often sting longer than any failure. Studies show that people regret the risks not taken far more than the ones that did not work out. The courage you practice now determines the range of possibilities you will have later. Your life can be built around comfort or around courage. One keeps you safe, the other keeps you alive. Courage will not make fear disappear. It will teach you to stop letting fear decide. Because the day you start acting before you feel ready is the day your future begins to expand. Chapter 9. The Compound Effect. The most powerful force shaping your life is not luck or talent. It is the compound effect of your daily habits. Your 20s are when those habits start to encode themselves into your life's operating system. Every choice you repeat becomes a line of code running quietly in the background. Some scripts build stability and progress. Others drain memory and crash the system. Small, consistent actions may look insignificant today, but they accumulate with mathematical precision. Just as compound interest turns small savings into wealth, compound habits turn small routines into transformation. The same rule applies in reverse. Tiny negative habits repeated daily can create an invisible downward slope that only becomes obvious years later. The challenge of your 20s is that the stakes feel low, but the code you write now will keep running for decades. Read 20 pages a day, and you will finish 25 books a year. Walk 30 minutes a day, and you will move for more than 180 hours a year. Write 500 words a day, and you will have 2 full-length books by year's end. Each habit is a line of code, and repetition is how you debug yourself into excellence. This is what it means to code your OS. Every habit is a command line in the system that runs your future. One good line of code can serve you for life. One bad one can make the whole system crash. Most people try to rewrite their operating system overnight. They install 10 new habits on Monday, run out of energy by Wednesday, and uninstall everything by Friday. The secret is not heroic effort. It is clean, consistent coding. One small function executed daily. No skipped updates. Small habits need systems, not motivation. Motivation is like battery power. It drains fast. Systems are like an external power source. They keep you running. We have all downloaded a meditation app with grand intentions, used it twice, then forgot it existed. We spend hours searching for life hacks to save 5 minutes, while avoiding the simple habits that could transform our lives in a year. We want shortcuts, but life runs on loops. The most successful people rarely have dramatic origin stories. They just kept writing good code every day when no one else was watching. While others waited for a perfect plan, they kept debugging the small errors and pushing updates to their habits. Your future reality is compiling in the background right now. Every action you repeat is being written into your operating system line by line. So choose your code intentionally. Because in the end, your life will run on whatever you have built, whether by design or by default. Chapter 10. The Long Game. Your 20s are not the finish line. They are the starting blocks. The most fulfilled people are not the ones who win their 20s. They are the ones who use this decade to build a foundation for the decades that follow. In a culture obsessed with instant results, playing the long game feels radical. But it is also the only strategy that works. Some investments will not pay off this year. Education that stretches your thinking. Relationships that challenge you to grow. Career moves that build capability instead of just status. These things may not produce quick rewards, but they create quiet momentum that compounds for life. The irony is that people who chase short-term wins often find themselves stuck in the same place years later. Those who played the long game move slower at first, but end up moving farther. A small advantage today becomes the defining edge tomorrow. Playing the long game requires emotional resilience. You must learn to make peace with delayed gratification, to trust your own timing when everyone else is racing ahead. It means walking paths that look uncertain from the outside, because you are building depth before visibility. This mindset applies to everything: career, health, relationships, personal growth. Each area of life rewards those who look past convenience and aim for endurance. Your 20s are the perfect decade to ask, am I making decisions that expand or limit my future possibilities? Because the choices that feel uncomfortable now often become the ones that give you the most freedom later. This is also where the philosophy of the infinite game matters. Life is not a tournament with a single trophy. It is a long, unfolding game that has no final winner. Only players who keep learning, adapting, and creating. The goal is not to beat others. It is to stay in the game long enough to become who you are meant to be. When you play the infinite game, you stop chasing applause and start pursuing mastery. You measure success not by how fast you rise, but by how deeply you grow. You start to understand that patience is not waiting. It is steady movement without panic. The long game demands faith in invisible progress. It asks you to build systems instead of moments, and to see time as an ally instead of an enemy. Your future self is quietly counting on you to make choices today that they will thank you for tomorrow. Because what you are building now is not just a career or a lifestyle, it is a trajectory. Life doesn't reward those who finish early, but those who are patient enough to play until the end. Conclusion. The 20s Manifesto. Your 20s are not a problem to solve. They are a canvas to paint, a lab to experiment, a rehearsal for the life you are building. This decade is not about perfection. It is about participation. You are meant to try, to fail, to adjust, to begin again. The 20s are the decade of drafts, of intentional messiness, of meaningful experimentation. You are learning to write your own operating system one line at a time, to invest in your health like it is your foundation, to build relationships that grow with you, not against you, to handle money like it carries the energy of your choices, to design a career that reflects your curiosity, not just your title, to stay teachable, to act with courage before you feel ready, to code habits that quietly shape your future, and above all, to play the long game. You will not have it all figured out. No one does. But you can learn to walk forward with clarity, even in the fog. You can learn to build momentum, even when the map is not complete, because the goal of your 20s is not to arrive. It is to awaken, to become the kind of person who can keep evolving for the rest of your life. So here is your manifesto. Write it down. Whisper it, shout it, live it. I will try. I will learn. I will not fear, because the masterpiece is not waiting at the end. It is being painted right now, with every choice you make.